Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. We are going to look at trance basses, and we're going to look more specifically at adding a mid-range bass into this and why we do it and how we are going to approach it. At the moment we have a bass sound here that is muted, and the reason is the sound isn't right. It's the original bass sound I started with before I processed the current bass, which is the one above. And then they just didn't fit. So it's a classic case of let's change the sound and get something a bit nicer. So it did start as the main bass, so now we're going to turn it into a mid bass. So first things first, we need to look at the processing of this bass. So okay, so we have some frequencies cut out here. We did some drastic editing and it just got to the point it didn't fit. So what we'll do for now is we will deactivate that, and then the FabFilter Saturn, let's have a look. We'll have a look at that after. So we'll deactivate everything on the channel so we have no influence from third-party plugins, and let's just listen to these together at the moment. So you can hear that first original bass is getting lost in there, and it's designed to be lower. The preset that I designed was meant to be a lot lower in the octaves. So what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate that by just choosing another preset. That's got a bit of bite to it. Okay, let's just try that one. Okay, because I raised it up an octave here. No. Okay, so I think we can work with this sound. Now the reason for adding a mid bass in is if we just take this away again, we've got a very nice bass sound. It's got some nice groove to it, and just overall the timbre of the sound fits perfectly for this style of trance. However, you can't add extra detailing as easy in your mids and your upper mids or the lows. Just by using one sound you could cleverly and tediously EQ it, but you wouldn't get the same results as layering different sounds on top of each other. As soon as you add something that is dedicated to the upper mids like this, it gives a little bit more of a new dimension to the sound and just takes it in a slightly different direction and gives it a little bit more oomph, shall we say. So let's have these two soloed, and it's helping cover that spectrum as well to make sure the bass is nice and tightly woven in with the lead sounds when you actually have everything playing together. Just gives you that fuller sound. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so we're nice and balanced on the mixer. Just give it a little bit more oomph. And it's the rhythm that's not working for me. So let's try and go for a traditional rhythm first on either side of this, because I don't mind this middle section. Bit of tweaking maybe. And because we are swung on Cubase, we just have to reduce these so the notes don't overlap. Okay, let's just get rid of that and just try and add just a simple rolling trance. Try the old school pattern. Okay, so that's starting to give it a little bit more added into the groove with the hats. If you take that away, the bass stands alone on its own. There's nothing else that's following that sort of rhythm pattern. That's the standout part. So now we've got something that is adding to that groove, and to be honest it sounds pretty good as it is, just because of the nature of the sound. It's using an FM as FM and AM as its main, and when you do certain processing on here, it does cut that bass out. It sounds very mid-rangey, and that's perfect for this example. So together on their own, it doesn't sound like it's got much till you add the kick in and you hear the groove. Then when you add the hats in, it's blending well with the hats already. So this is a great example of a sound that just works straight away. Okay, so we'll class that as our upper mid bass is what we'll do. So we'll just do some basic processing on here. So we'll open up this again. So way too much processing. Yeah, far too much. So we'll just load the default again. And I'm just going to cut out the bass, say up to like 200 Hertz. Maybe a bit lower here. It's got a little bit of low mid detail in there, and that is what is giving it its tonal quality in this mix. So we do have a third bass sound here, but the issue with this one is it's just an offbeat bass, and it works horribly with the rest of the track. It's just horrible. So we're going to turn this into our mid-range bass. So that is our upper mid bass. So let's rename that as up mid. This is bass main, and we're going to call this mid bass. Let's just rename that up mid. I'm renaming these in totally different styles, but you get the point. So up mid bass, main bass, and then we're going to have the mid range here. So let's organize them in the right order. So we've got the low end detail, we've got the mid range detail, and we've got the upper detail. So let's go into this and get rid of that. And let's start by pasting this same rhythm in here. Okay, and secondly, let's get rid of that awful bass sound for this particular track. That's that one. Open up the wrong one there. Okay, and let's pick just going to drop it down one octave. So I'm just trying to find something that's going to fit nicely. Okay, we need to go back up an octave now. Okay, so it's focused in the low end to do much. That's kind of got a good mid-range sound to it. Okay, so let's just have a look at what we've got. We've got a... That is why it sounds weird. This seems to be offset, so I'm just going to set that to 0. Okay, that's sounding more in the upper mid, so let's just have a listen to that with all three. Let's just drop it an octave. Okay, it's too close to the upper mid bass, in my opinion. Okay, that could work there. Let's just tailor this sound a little bit here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just listening to how it sounds sonically, just bit by bit. So we're going to try just keeping this on one level. Okay, and we've not got any groove on this. We're going to add the quantizer, and it's about 35 to 7-ish in there. Yeah, about 36 to 37-ish. So maybe 3's too much. Let's have everything in. Okay, that could work there. I want the sound to be a bit more pluckier though. That is a little bit too long. Okay, I think that should do there. What we could do here on the mid bass, if we don't have a crashing section here. I've got a few different tasks going on in the background, and this is starting to show its age, this computer. So maybe just on the end of here we can have something just to signify that it's repeating. Have it all. Okay, that sounds alright. Make sure they're on the same level, because visually here it looks like they're on different levels. Right, that is perfect. So let's just do a tad of processing on here. We'd have to go crazy on this one. Okay, we're just waiting here. Getting really bad. Right, so let's just load a new Pro Q in, and let's set this to bandpass. So we're really only focusing here in the middle. Let's just put 24 dB. So that gives you a good focus on the mid-range straight away. So let's just see how that positioning sounds. Okay, so we want a little bit of overlapping into the bass area there. So don't be afraid to shape how you want at this stage. Okay, so it's got a good mid-range there. We're keeping it -6.3 there. Yeah, as long as we're in the -6 range, I am happy with that. And we've just hit save again, and we cannot do anything until it has done. So we all go through the same struggles using computers. They just get to a point where you just need to upgrade. You just need to make sure everything is working nicely. Make sure everything's backed up. That is the key, which I have. Alright, so I've just hit save again, so we're just going to be waiting a bit longer. I have got another video exporting in the background to the same drive, so this is my issue. Let's wait for this to finish. So on this mid bass, we've given them 3 different patterns, but not so drastically different that you're taking it away from the main focus, which was the original rhythm here. So you're bringing back some of the rhythm that the close hats are bringing, which is first of all the mid bass, and then the upper mid bass emphasizes those hats and kind of blends nicely with them as well. It's making the hats seem to be doing something different, and we need to get rid of that pattern there and copy that all the way across. Okay, so they are, I've just hit save again. These are basically blended pretty much well together already, and you can see that I've done minimal editing on there, and that is a good thing because that shows that the sounds that we have chosen and slightly tweaked the design of have actually slotted well together without forcibly forcing them together. So the bass main, if we just take a look at this, let's just unsolo everything here. So it's going through a Pro Q, and it's focusing more in the mid-range again, but it has got some low detail in there. And then the glitch is using the distortion, which I've shown you before. You can use the distortion just as a distortion plugin rather than using it as a glitch machine like it is suggested. And that gives that sound. So it's a pretty good sound as well. I really like that one. And then together. So then you can blend these together. You can send them to a bass group, which is here. And you can see there's only them two going. So let's send that one to the bass as well. And at the moment there is nothing happening on there. You can see I started with a Pro C2 there, so let's get rid of that. And one of my favourite tools to use for blending, as you already know, is Molot, the free compressor. It's just got such a great sound. Pro C2 does have a great sound as well, but it's more surgical like it is with all of the Pro series. It's quite surgical, and this gives it a nice warm fuzzy feeling if used right. So let's not process the bass, we'll turn that off. And to keep the dynamics, I'm going to keep the attack quite high there. We'll keep everything where it is, the release fairly quick. Let's just dial in this threshold. And what we're doing here is essentially gluing, even though it's not a glue compressor technique. We're kind of gelling the sounds together because what the compressor is doing is bringing the highs and the lows closer together. So it's everything that passes above the threshold is reduced by the ratio 4:1 in this case, thus bringing the higher levels closer to the lower levels. So everything sounds a little bit closer together and a little bit more detailed. So as you can hear from just this alone, I'm just going to scoop that a tad. Any rogue peaks here with the limiter. So if we listen to this bypassed, the only way I can describe is if you listen to that top mid bass playing that longer pattern, that is sat on top of the main riff that we started with, whereas now they're a bit more blended together. They don't separate as much. They don't sound like they're just one sat on the other. It's got a more woven into the track feeling, and that is just very, very simple and gentle EQing compression here. So again, without, and then with. And what I'm using here as well, again, the Sigma switch to add a little bit more bite. The slow attack is letting the transients through, so you're getting that bite from your bass. And then the reduction is just helping that bite really take hold when the peaks are reduced. So now we have this. So what I'm going to do is just reduce the volume of the upper mid bass a little bit so it just kind of sinks into the mix a little bit better, and I think we are done. So instead of reducing the mix here, again, we are going to use a gain plugin. So I'm going to start with 1 dB. Maybe 1.5. A bit higher. Yeah. There, so what it's doing is just syncing the volume just a tad in the mix, and then that compressor is working a little bit better to blend everything together. So not bad to say that we started with this. Let's just get rid of all that. So this is exactly the same here. We've got this lovely groove going on now. And then when we add a sub bass in there, this track is going to sound absolutely beautiful. So that is really, really simple bass layering, and just really lucky on the preset design. Obviously I've designed the presets beforehand, but not for this track. So I already had the ideas in mind. And what that does is, if you're designing your own stuff, that really gives you that whole edge over everybody else. You can tailor your sounds to sound sonically the closest to what you're trying to achieve, and then just use EQ to tidy it up. Much simpler. So that is the end of the video. I'll just give you a preview to the melody that I'm working on. I'm not too sure on it yet, but this is where I want it to go. So whether this is the direction the track goes, who knows? Whether it fits with the style of the track at the moment, I don't know, because I'm very undecided. Because my idea here was to create a very straight rhythm on the synths, and then use the bass and all the other grooves to bring the mix back together, if you know what I mean. So it kind of separates it for that midsection, which works really well. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments down below. Consider subscribing, hit the bell icon, and choose all so you see everything I upload on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and then any bonus videos that might happen in between as well, because I do spontaneously produce other videos. And finally, hit that like button to obviously get everybody seeing this video and get their trance tracks sounding even better than they already are. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.